So the first pillar is resourcing, and this is really about supporting our body and teaching our body that there are good experiences, there are safe experiences, that we can feel supported. And resourcing can be anything that feels supportive to you, as long as it's done in a very embodied way. So rest is a big resource for all of us, one that we often don't do enough of. So if we haven't slept enough, our fear is probably going to be bigger because we're just going to be under resourced. So making sure that we are well rested, making sure that we're taking breaks, resting, listening to our body, that is one really big resource, and one way of really making sure that we have more capacity for holding the big emotions that come up for us, including fear. Another thing is self-care, caring for yourself. It can be, taking a day off, doing the things you like to do, whatever self-care means for you. And I don't mean these fancy like commercial self-care things like, ooh, I'm taking a bubble bath. I mean, whatever makes you feel good. So maybe it's, reading a book, or going for a walk, or eating or drinking something specific. And these things can also be done unembodied, right? You can also walk in a really stressed way, then it's not resourcing. Or reading a book to try and escape something, that is not really resourcing. So that's why I say it's very much about how you're being present with it, how you are embodying it. And as long as it's something that you're doing that feels like, this is filling me up, this is really good for me, this feels like what I need and what I want, that is something that is resourcing you. It can also be having fun, meeting up with friends, or just having a really good talk with one of your friends. Any sort of support. Therapy can be resourcing. Support groups, anything that creates meaning for you, anything that lights you up and you're like, yes, if you have kids, or hopefully your partner is resourcing for you, like hanging out with your partner, being like, you know what, just want time for the two of us, just want to connect and enjoy each other. That's also resourcing. Anything that allows you to drink in the moment and leaves you feeling more alive afterwards. And sometimes it can be hard, if we are under resourced, to find ways to resource. And that's why it's really important to start small. So it can also be like calling in memories of something helpful or supportive, like, oh, I really remember this birthday, it was a really good day, let me just think about that for a moment, just to allow our body to be in a different state. Because if you're in a difficult place, let's say your business is having financial trouble, right, and you're like, oh, how do I, this month wasn't very good, the last month wasn't very good, this wasn't what I expected, right, then you can be stressed and maybe disconnected. And then it can be really important to bring in, oh, you know what, I remember the last time I was teaching this workshop, people really liked it. Again, it's about holding both, right? Holding like, yeah, the last 2 months were not, great months. I didn't, find the clients that I wanted to. I didn't, I had to cancel that workshop thing. Oh no. And then also to hold, oh, you know what, that workshop I did in December, I remember how people really loved it. And I remember these two people who said specifically this, that really warmed my heart. So to hold those things, so the fear over here of like, oh my goodness, this is not good, can be held together with the like, oh, I also remember when I'm doing the things that are really meaningful to me. And just let those two influence each other. Sometimes we really tend to let the thing that is not feeling helpful or supportive or good for us, letting that take over, and maybe even try to make it go away, right? Let me try and make the financial stuff go away, rather than bringing in something that can make it feel a little bit less overwhelming. So learning to hold those two at the same time. That's a lot about what that's a lot of what resourcing is about. So one, resourcing, helping yourself create aliveness and movement in your body and in your inner world. That is the first pillar. And as I said, this is really pillars, so it's not steps. It's not because you have to do one thing before the other. With that said, resourcing is always the first thing. Whenever there's an issue of anything, including this fear of being seen, the first thing is always to resource. So it's just because it's the first thing that softens. That's why we breathe. If we are in a situation and the fear is coming up, it's helpful to breathe. Breathing is also resourcing. Focusing on your breath, grounding into your breath, that's definitely a really strong resource. Just wanted to take a breath there. That's what my body needed.